Good evening. My name's Jason Delisle. I'm president of the Speedway Town Council. It is, say, 7 p.m. On July 8th, and I call this meeting to order. So we'll first start off with our Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, introductions to my right is our town manager, Grant Kleinhans.
Good evening.
Town councilor, Sarah Gardner.
Good evening.
Town councilor, Sean Harold.
Good evening.
And to my left is our town attorney, Ted Nolting.
Good evening.
Our clerk treasurer, Philip Faust.
Good evening.
Town councilor, Vince Noblet.
Good evening.
And our vice president, Nick Sturgeon.
Good evening.
First item is approval of minutes from our June 24th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve our minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second it.
We'll call for a vote there. So all in favor of approving our minutes from June 24th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next up is our approval of memorandum of the administrative session of the Speedway Town Council on June 24th, 2024.
I'll make a motion for the approval of our memorandum of administrative session of the Speedway Town Council from June 24, 2024.
All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our memorandum on June 24th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. All right, next item is request for temporary road closure of School Drive for the West Indie Art and Musical Festival. And Tammy's here with more information.
Yeah, so this will be the fourth year that we've had the West Indie Art and Music Festival, and each year it's grown, and last year we anticipated we had over 2,000 people come through. It's an all-day event with 7 bands and food trucks and a beer and wine garden. And because of that growth and with the traffic the way it is and people parking and stuff, we would like to close School Drive there from Parkwood around to, I'm not sure which street it is that goes into the neighborhood, but no homes would be affected. Essentially, it'd be just right there, Wheeler and by the soccer fields and stuff like that. And then our plan is to move kind of the food trucks down more, and we just want to change the layout to be more conducive to the high volume of people that we're seeing. And so we are asking to be able to close that road for this event. And another thing is I'm in conversations with a company that does they do buses, like charter buses and stuff, and they have a shuttle bus. And so we're looking to get a shuttle bus so we can encourage people to park at the high school. The high school gave us approval to do that last year, and I'm planning on requesting that again this year. So I'm sure that would be fine. We ended up not doing it last year, but we are looking to do it this year. And so that would help with that people being able to line up for the shuttle and being able to go back and forth for parking at the high school.
I'll make a motion to request the temporary road closure of School Drive for the West Indie Art and Music Festival.
Second.
Any questions or comments for Tammy?
No, just to reiterate, you said going on to Beauport, you'd still be able to turn.
Yes, yeah, we won't close that. It'll just be beyond that, like just beyond that, and then to Parkwood. So there's no homes that would be affected there at all. We would just need the street department to bring out a few barricades for us to block those off. And I'll talk further with the police department if we need to get security or have a police officer there to man those areas. We're still kind of work in progress. I met with the committee, and because of the growth of the event, we're just trying to make things work a little smoother and make it a more fun event. We've already got more vendors this year signed up, so it's growing again.
So are you going to leave Parkwood entrance into the school drive open? Up on the west end?
Not to School Drive. That's what
Okay.
we're wanting to close.
Okay,
That.
okay. And then how long is it going to be up? What time period?
So the event starts at noon and ends, so the last band, it should be over with around, I think the last band goes on at, 7, so 8 o'clock, and that's when we start tearing things down. So
Okay.
we'd open it up immediately once the event's over. It's just
Okay.
mainly during the event.
You're going to close it down at noon and then open it up back up at 8?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
What's the date of this event?
August
Danny?
17th, Saturday.
It's a Saturday, okay.
Saturday, with the rain date of Sunday, the 18th.
Okay. The only thing I was thinking is there's soccer conflicts.
And I'll
That
reach out to
time?
them. I've reached
Okay.
out to them the past 2
Okay.
years, and they end up not doing soccer
That
that day
day.
of that event.
That makes
So-
sense, or have it
But I will
earlier.
reach out to them again this year
Okay.
to talk to
Yeah.
them about that.
Awesome.
And even if they do have soccer, we can kind of work around that because that's in the morning.
Right.
And it's usually
And they're
done by
done
the time
probably.
we get going. So
Right.
that's what I was told, but they ended up not having it
Okay, last year.
2 years.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
All right, no other comments or questions. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our temporary road closure of School Drive for the West Indy Art and Music Festival on August 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you,
Thank you.
Tammy.
Okay.
All right, our next item is ordinance 1389, which amends ordinances 1385 and 1386, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Speedway for the year 2024. Philip?
Thank you. So in June, the police department issued a policy outlining how they would like to hire part-time officers going forward. As the council may recall, the general idea here is for retired officers to be able to come back and serve, especially while we're having staffing issues at different times. To implement that on the town side and to be able to do payroll for that and hire someone, then we need to amend the salary ordinance because that details every position that is in the town. So the pay that Chief Upchurch has suggested and that I'm requesting would be $40 an hour. Again, this would be a part-time position. The general idea here would be that hopefully this would even provide some relief in terms of overtime that would be needed for other officers. So we think that the budgetary impact, while obviously not non-existent, makes sense given their current staffing needs. If the council is inclined to move forward with this, our request, we were hoping to get this in place so that we could hire one of the retired officers back for the brickyard. In order to pass an ordinance, usually you have two different hearings on it. If you are all in agreement, you can do two different motions. So you would move as a group that you consent unanimously to reviewing this in one session. And then if that is unanimous, then we require a 2/3 vote in favor for it to pass in one session. So there'd be two different motions if you're inclined to pass this in time for the brickyard. But I'm happy to try to field any questions, and obviously Chief Upchurch is here as well if you have more detailed ones.
So why don't we do this? I'll call for a motion to approve the consent to one session review, and then we can have some discussion on that if we want. Does that sound good?
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we pass an ordinance under a one motion review as stated.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments about the one session review for this particular ordinance? Okay. So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of consenting to a single session for review of this ordinance 1389, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. And now I'll call for a motion to approve ordinance 1389.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1389, an ordinance amending the ordinances 1385 and 1386, establishing job and salaries to be paid certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Speedway, Indiana for the year 2024.
I'll second.
All right. Any questions, comments about the ordinance? All right. I will call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1389, which amends ordinances 1385 and 1386, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Speedway for 2024, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That passes 5-0.
Next year, we'll work on shortening the title.
You talk with him about that?
Yeah, normally we just call it a salary ordinance. That's not technically correct.
All right, our next item is approval of proposal from Wessler Engineering for professional services associated with new well exploration and development for the water department. Grant.
Yes, and you will also notice that I have a talent for making these titles very long also. Thank you, council. So this evening before you, we have a task order number 4 to our agreement with Wessler Engineering to begin some well investigation to look at potentially replacing the output level of our number 2 and number 6 wells that are located at Leonard Park. As you know, those were bought many, many years ago by the water department, and then we developed that into a park, the street garage, as well as having some wells there. The proposal is for $20,000, and what they will do for us is identify potentially 5 to 6 spots in and around that area. It is the same well field or aquifer, but as you know, well fields and aquifer can change significantly even by a couple hundred feet. So we are looking at in and around that area where we can potentially find a good water source to replace well number 2 and number 6. They are not producing as well as they used to, but also they are located pretty much smack dab right in the middle of where we would love to redevelop, according to our comprehensive plan, the former town hall site. So each of those test wells will cost somewhere between $14,000 and $15,000. If we identify wells that would produce well, we first have to identify properties, then work with those property owners to see if they're even interested in allowing us to enter their property and do the test. If the tests come back well, and then we would negotiate purchasing those properties or access to having wells there. Each of those wells would cost, listed in number 5 of my memo, $100,000 to $125,000 a piece, depending on the depth and the material that we're going through to get to the aquifer. The timeline for this would probably be somewhere between 8 to 12 months to get these wells identified, negotiated with the property owners, and then bid them out. So we would be looking to bid these next year and include these costs potentially in next year's budget, in the 2025 budget. So with that, I recommend approval of the proposal in the amount of not to exceed $20,000 with Wessler Engineering, and then I will take any answer any questions that you might have.
I'll make a motion, the approval of the proposal from Wessler Engineering for professional services associated with the new well exploration and development for the water department.
I'll second.
All right, any questions or comments for Grant?
So when you mentioned that they're not producing like they used to, can you put that into like quantifiable?
It's nominal, 5 to 10% less. We have rehabilitated some of our other wells. You just don't over time, wells don't work as well as they used to, particularly a high volume well. I would say it's 5 to 10% reduced. So it's something that concerns us because those are two of our better producing wells, and we definitely need access to as much well water as we possibly can have. But it's not like this is an emergency. I don't want to give off any that we're having trouble. We're really not. It's just something we're strategically looking at doing.
Planning ahead.
Yep.
Okay.
Trying to stay ahead of major issues.
Yeah.
Again, how many parcels are they looking at?
They're probably going to look at 5 to 6. And there is a map that's identified there. But once again, those are estimated. Some of those are owned by the school. Some of them are private residences that do have a long, very long and deep lot.
Right.
We would try to do this as, simple and not to bother them as much as possible. We would also potentially consider different types of wells. You can do low-profile wells that really don't look like much at all on the surface, all the way up to a well house, but that's not something we necessarily want to do.
And so the process for testing, so it looks like we've identified where we think these are, the homeowners, we would get permission.
Yep.
They would be compensated for the test.
Yep, so there's actually an attached agreement that attorney needs to review and add his comments to.
Okay.
But you would give them a right of refusal type payment of $500 to $1,000 that would then come off of any purchase price. But if we don't do anything with them, they would receive that money for their time and effort in working with us. We would have to have these appraised as well, and then negotiate those prices if it gets to that point where we're developing the wells themselves.
And how long do you think this will take before we get at least numbers back for the budget for next year?
Probably a couple of months, so it coincides well with our timeline for our budgets.
Okay.
And we'll probably throw the dollars in there just as a placeholder, and if we have to take them out or not spend it, we will do that. I do want to reiterate, this is one of the projects that we've been talking about for several years, and part of the things that we put into the rate increases from 2 years ago was to identify additional well locations and then develop those over time.
All right. If no other questions, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our proposal from Wessler Engineering for professional services associated with the new well exploration and development for the water department, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is approval proposal from Sondy Solutions for a rebuild of the Active Directory and a renewal of our server support contract. Grant.
Thank you. So annually, as you know, Sondy Solutions is our IT provider. They, in essence, work with us to provide our day-to-day needs when we have issues or concerns. They help us plan for and approve and purchase capital like computers, servers, et cetera. One of the things that we need to do since relocating to the municipal center here is to rebuild our Active Directory. And Nick, you can talk about this way more than I can. There's just a lot of things out there that need to be closed down or taken off the system because they don't need to be there. So part of this proposal is for them to rebuild that. It would require a senior consultant and a project manager. That part of the project is about $3,400.14. The other part of the proposal is for them to renew for 1 year 4 of our major servers, Dell server support renewal, and that is in the amount of $7,499. These are expenses that we budget for in the budget, both the software upgrades or renewals, as well as capital, or not capital projects, special projects that are identified out of our budget upwards of $30,000 to $40,000. And this is something we've been discussing for a couple of years and need to have done. I'll answer any questions you might have, or Nick can answer any questions that you might have.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the proposal from Sondy Solutions for rebuild of the Active Directory and renewal of server support contract.
I'll second that.
All right, any questions, comments for Grant?
Well, I will make some comments because I actually did talk to Sandy, one of our support folks from Sandy today, to get a little bit better idea of what's going on. So a few things. This will modernize some of the infrastructure that we have. One of the servers that's at the water wastewater building is a 2008 server, has been end of life for a few years. So that'll get us up to a more modern operating system, better hardware as well, which also brings some efficiencies from just day-to-day stuff, but also some cybersecurity benefits as well. This one being end of life, Microsoft's not had a patch for this in quite some time, so it's vulnerable to cybersecurity attacks. And there was an issue at Tipton just a couple months ago where they had a ransomware at their water wastewater facility. So just some improvements that are needed from that standpoint. Also, because of how things were done from our prior IT support person, I should say, things weren't done correctly. So this will allow them to get things better the way they should be architected versus how they were. So like I said, when I saw this, it's like, okay, need a little bit more detail here than what was on the statement of work. So the other thing, and part of the reason they're only doing a year contract is there's they want to discuss about moving from the on-prem servers to the cloud for next year.
I was going to ask you that question. I just wrote it down.
So that's why this will give us the ability to fix the things that need to be fixed, but also not lock us into a longer-term support contract with Dell.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I could talk about this all night, but
Please
I'm sure
don't.
nobody wants to.
I think next time I'm just going to hand this one over to you, so.
Please don't.
All right, any other question or comments for Grant or Nick? No? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our proposal from Sandy Solutions for our rebuild of our Active Directory and renewal of our server support contract, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. Our next item is approval of claims and utility adjustments. Philip.
Thank you. I do have both, and they are for the period of June 20th through July 3rd of this year. The adjustments are for 8 customers, and the claims are on 16 pages and total $1,852,729.70. Request your approval.
I'll make a motion to approve our claims and adjustments as presented by our clerk treasurer.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor of approving our claims and utility adjustments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Philip. Now we'll do our report from our department supervisors, and we'll start with communications. Cheryl McElroy.
While she's coming up, I will tell you that she told me today she didn't have anything to report on.
Oh, Grant.
We'll see how this goes.
Okay, I should delete my very first one because it reads as follows. Good evening, council. Kudos to Grant. Actually, I did write that out. Kudos to Grant for second quarter casual conversations that was held back in June. We had a really good attendance. Residents were very open about the discussions they wanted to have. Some of the items included public safety, trails, multiple project updates. So stay tuned for our third quarter. They seem to be really well engaged during the meetings, and then the social media feedback we get afterwards is always very positive. So nice job, Grant.
I love doing that. It's always a good time.
Let's see, I have a message on behalf of Speedway Trail Association. The trail's primary fundraiser is coming up. That takes place over Brickyard 400. They park cars Saturday, July 20th and Sunday, July 21st. Funds raised for this goes back to the trail's maintenance and expansion projects. There are multiple time slots still available, so they're looking for volunteers. If anyone is interested, check the Facebook website, and there's an email that you can contact. It's Dave Centelic. Apologize if I pronounced that wrong. But anyway, his email is on the website, the social media Facebook page, to volunteer for that. I was going to share some June community events and fundraisers that I'm aware of. The first one is Friday, July 12th, Friends of Fred Food Truck Festival. It's from 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. at Daredevil Brewery. It is a community event. All ages are welcome. Leashed pets are welcome. Free parking, free admission, a family fun zone. There's free entertainment and a great lineup of food trucks. The next one is on July 13th, Saturday, Yoga in the Park. It will be at Meadowwood Park, and it starts at 10 a.m. It's a suggested $10 donation, and this will benefit the Speedway Animal Rescue. The next one is a fundraiser for the Speedway 500 Regiment Band and Guard. That is on July 15th. It is from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., and it will be at the Tropical Smoothie Cafe in Avon. I'm not familiar with that one, but that might be worth running out there. Let's see. To kick off Brickyard Weekend, Indianapolis Motor Speedway will be presenting the Holler Parade on Main. This is always a community favorite. It's on Thursday, July 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. Does take place on Main Street from 10th Street to 16th Street. The haulers will start coming in around 4:30ish from 10th. Will be lined up into 16th Street. It's a free event. There'll be live music, family-friendly activities, giveaways, guest appearances. It's usually a lot of fun, so try to check that out. Information has been sent out to the community and to the businesses on Main Street because it will affect anyone. There obviously will be parking and street restrictions. Businesses have been made aware of that, and I'll be sending out reminders as well. This week I'll also be sharing parking and street restrictions for the Holler Parade as well as Brickyard Weekend. These are put together by the Speedway Police Department. We'll share those out on Facebook, website, and then emails to, again, businesses and residents. There is a hot air balloon ride event coming up. That is on July 20th. That is, let's see, it will be held at Daredevil Brewing from 7 to 10 p.m. It's tethered rides that go 80 foot in the air. It is $20 a person. All proceeds will go to the Speedway Centennial Celebration planning, and it is presented by the Speedway Centennial Planning Committee, sponsored by Lindy, and co-sponsors are the Speedway Lions Club and Midwest Balloon Rides. Again, that information is on social media as well as the town website. Finally, I wanted to share some year-to-date stats on the work collaboratively done by Speedway Street Department and Speedway Animal Rescue. Through January through June 30th, they have done 164 adoptions. Just in June alone, they had 34 adoptions. Speedway Street Department picked up 51 animals during those 6 months, along with an additional 18 puppies that came from some of those 51 animals. So a total of 69 animals. 94% of them that go to the street department are still intact animals. They have spent, Speedway Animal Rescue has spent over $41,000 in that 6 month on vetting expenses. Of those 69 animals that were brought in through the street department, Speedway Animal Rescue has placed all but 2 in either foster adoption homes, or some of them go back to the owners who claim them, but there were only 15 of those. Despite having no IDs or tags, social media efforts, they usually track down, or they were able to track down those 15 owners. So just kind of a reminder, please consider adoption or fostering to help out the Speedway Animal Rescue. You can contact their information via their website or their Facebook page. Please consider neutering or spaying your pets, and please be sure to properly tag or chip your pets. That is all I have.
Thanks,
Any questions?
That was a little bit more than zero.
I know, I hate getting up here saying business as usual, because this is my business as usual.
All good updates. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Next is our police update with Chief Upchurch.
Good evening, council. First of all, we'll start with, we are doing an open process for lateral entry officers. The advertisement, I believe, is on our website, and we've sent it to the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy on their website. So we will be taking those applications for lateral officers that have completed the academy through July 25th of this month, and we anticipate doing our interviews the first week of August. So that is anticipation of the loss we'll have with Officer Weaver when he retires in August. And we just swore in after the last town council meeting on June 17th. We swore Elise Herndon in. She's begun her training. She's doing very well at this point. She will be leaving for the academy in August, so we won't get her back until about December. So, and then it usually takes for a new officer that does not have any experience, it's about a year-long process by the time we get through the academy and through the field training program, and so they're not on their own for most of that first year. So, and anticipate, well, we have another officer candidate that has just passed his physical and psychological testing, and now we need to send him down to the pension board to have them vote on whether he's entered into the pension system. So if that all goes well, we anticipate starting him probably mid-August. So that would get us up to where we need to be. So also, just to cover a few of our stats for the year, so far we have responded to 15,073 calls for service. And when we do a comparison from January through June of 2023 to January of 24 to June of 24, so far our homicides were stagnant. We had 0 at this time last year. Our sexual assaults are down 50%. Our robberies would be down 57%. Our assaults are down 29%. Our burglaries are down 31%, and our thefts are down 15%. The only thing we've seen a rise in are vehicle thefts, which a lot of that is tied to our flock camera system. So we get a lot of vehicle recoveries when we get notifications on those, and the officers may engage in a pursuit and recover those cars. So that's why we're seeing the increase in those. So citations at this point throughout the year, we're at 3,818 citations. And to finish up, and I know Cheryl touched on some of this in her report, but remember, we do have a race coming up here in about another week and a half. So our parking restrictions will go into place on Thursday before the race, and those are taken out of place when the race concludes and traffic is out of town. So please be mindful of that when race weekend comes, and watch where you're parking, because we know a lot of folks forget that we have a race and they may park in a zone that they shouldn't be parking in. But other than that, that's all I have.
Do we know how many people are expected in for this year's birthday?
You know, I think somewhere, talking to the security director at the track, probably somewhere in the vicinity, probably between 70 and 80,000. I think ticket sales are up from last year, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're going back to the original racing on the oval. So, but I think they do believe ticket sales are up. So But when we say 80,000 people is nothing, that's
Yeah.
kind of, it's like, it's
So
only
can-
80,000 people. So,
Considering that, Chief, then, far as the parking, far as we're, letting the crowd out, and that, and hopefully we get good weather and
Yes.
it gets ran on the time and
yes.
we get it from there. Or do you have any special things that you guys?
Are you in general in terms of just
Yeah.
our traffic leaving? Unfortunately, it's not as quick as we would like it to be, just because we don't have the same footprint with the number of officers we
Right.
have for the 500. We usually, with the 500 in and around the track, we have about 1,000 policemen on that day for the 500. So that is scaled back with the other agencies, just because we just don't have the crowd. So we hope to have it out in a couple hours. And a lot of times, I think with the smaller events, you hate to say it, but sometimes I think we get in the way. And I think people could probably get out of town a little quicker if we just stay out of the way. But we're usually in that couple hour range with this race. We still have pedestrian traffic for right after the race, and it's hard for us to get the roadways to open up and start moving traffic until we get all those people out of to their cars.
So the public would, as far as Crawfordsville Road going
Right.
both ways and
Right.
all that would be.
Crawfordsville Road will use the old pattern.
Yeah.
We will not be implementing the pattern where we have all traffic and all lanes going to 465 after the race. The two westbound lanes will be going to the interstate.
Okay.
And we just don't have the amount of traffic to fill the pattern
Right.
like we do for the 500. So,
All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
okay, thanks, Chief. Thank you.
Next up is our fire department. Chief Milhorn.
Good evening. Everyone had a great 4th of July. Chief Fishburne's on vacation, so you have me tonight. Keep it pretty short. In the month of June, we did 295 runs. 65% of those were EMS, 35% were fire runs. We do have a new hire starting in August. Just got all his paperwork back, so he's good to go. We are looking at hopefully sending him to recruit school in January, but he'll be training on the job with us until then. He's already an EMT, so. We did have an opportunity to do some joint extrication training with Pike Township Fire Department. We did that a couple weeks ago. All 3 shifts got through it. It's something we need to do a little bit more of, because we with mutual aid, we run with these, other departments quite a bit. So we are also, we'll be finalizing all of our brickyard plans tomorrow. It's a small footprint for us as well. And finally, we're working on our budgets. I think we're see the little light at the end of the tunnel. So other than that, that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions for me. All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next is Parks and Recreation with Tammy Smith.
Okay, our summer camps are over, so I was going to give a little overview of that. We had 444 spots filled during summer camp and related activities, 302 participants in 15 different summer sports and art camps, 52 participants in the junior running club, and 90 participants in the free swim lesson. So it was a very good year. And I want to recognize and thank Coach Chuck Bennett, who serves as our summer camp director. He recruits the adult and student coaches, as well as being one of the coaches. And he checks in on the kiddos and helps monitor all the programs. And we also want to thank all the adult and student coaches willing to continue this tradition for our Speedway youth. This Thursday, July 11th, is our next summer concert. Performing is 13th Floor Band. Next week, on July 18th, the day of the Holler Parade, is Tres Amigos Band. So our concerts start at 7, the Holler Parade ends at 7. Sounds like a good place to come after the Holler Parade. July 25th will be Under the Radar. It was originally Barbender, but they are unable to make that date, so we have gotten another band Under the Radar to take that date. August 1st is Abby Something, August 8th is the Party Band, and our last concert's August 15th, The Last Alpaca. All concert times are 7 to 9 p.m. at Meadowood Park. For the month of July, in addition to Fun Day's ice cream truck, Quake's Legacy hot dog stand will be at the park during the concerts. In addition to our summer concerts, this Thursday is our opening day for our market in Meadowood. The market will run 9 weeks from 5 to 7:30. The last day will be September 5th. Again, it's located at Meadowood Park in the northeast corner of the park. We're excited to welcome a couple new vendors this year. Mother Feathers will have chicken and turkey eggs, as well as Paradots. They have delicious spices, so we look forward to welcoming them. Backyard Gardener Dan will be there with his produce again this year. Kim's Key Lime Cookies. We'll have a new Cake by the Slice, along with her cookies and sweetbreads. Miss May Designs will be back again with her delicious creations, and most of our vendors that sell hobby and gift items are coming back, as well as a few new ones, in addition to some community groups like Speedway Animal Rescue, Trails, Speedway Library, and the Latino Health Organization and Smoking Cessation Group. Also Indianapolis Healthplex. So if you haven't already, we do have a Facebook page for the market. It's called Market in Meadowood Speedway, so go check that out. And then we are currently posting vendor highlights on that page. So for my So You Know segment this time, it's actually something we've discussed a couple months ago regarding the people parking the wrong way on 15th Street specifically, how that is such a hazard to oncoming traffic as well as bicyclists. We do have our new signs, traffic signs. It'll look like this, that have been posted today. So they are installed on the poles, so hopefully that will remind people that if they see this sign, they're parked the wrong way. And hopefully that will help get people to abide by that traffic rule. And that's all I have today. Any questions?
No, I just want to thank you and your team for, being out there in the heat and running all these events. I know it's got to be tough to keep a kid's attention, especially for all the programs and things that go on, and get them through those 90-degree days.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we had several this year.
they were some really unbearable days. I don't know how you guys made it, but thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thanks, team.
Thanks, Tammy. Next is Public Works. Brad Sloan.
Good evening. We'll start at the wastewater treatment plant. For the month of June, the plant treated 125 million gallons. Operators and maintenance department has been busy with groundkeeping and preventative maintenance. On June 20th, IDEM did a stormwater audit for the town's stormwater program and went and inspected the street department. They found no deficiencies in the audit and closed it out. At the water treatment plant, business as usual. Plants treated 66 million gallons for the month of June. They're doing ongoing maintenance on both plants and distribution system. At the street department, they have been out painting crosswalks, stop bars, parking lines and curbs, mowing and maintaining right-of-ways, repairing street cuts from utility repairs, and watering newly installed grass seed along this year's asphalt project. That's all I have.
I just want to thank the street department. They're out there replacing some sidewalks that badly needed help, I know, on Auburn. So I appreciate all the work that they do, especially it was a nice day for doing it. I don't think there is a nice day for pouring concrete, but
Absolutely.
yeah,
They do an excellent job.
yeah.
So Brad or Grant, I don't know if you guys could talk about this. There's some notices that went out about water treatment testing failure. Are you guys aware of that?
I am not aware of that.
Okay.
I'll have to ask Ronnie about that.
Okay. I had a constituent ask, and it was, there's some information, but very little as well.
I'm not aware of it.
Okay. So maybe, hopefully it's a fake thing. Well, I say hopefully,
could
but it's still not a good thing, but it
Yeah.
did raise some concerns.
All right. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Next is our Economic Development with Carmen Lepig.
Good evening, counselors. Let's see. Sorry here's what I've been up to since last time I was here. I discussed this last time, but I'm finalizing a presentation that's one of our state statute requirements for TIF. So it is the overlapping taxing unit presentation, and I'll be giving that at the next SRC meeting on July 22nd. I sent out a survey to Speedway businesses, and since everyone else was saying numbers, I'll throw out a couple numbers because I don't want to be left out. I sent it out to hundreds. I actually don't know how many emails I sent out, and there were some duplicates, but hundreds of businesses. And so far, I've only had 12 reply. So talked to Cheryl today, and we're going to post the link on Facebook in order to get a few more responses. But if you'll remember, this was something like a first step in thinking about a potential loan program through the Redevelopment Commission or potentially the town CDC. And so this was just a very short survey in order to get some ideas of what businesses need and what their desire would be to even participate in a loan program. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting a few more responses on that. I'm continuing to meet with local businesses. I did a whole bunch of meetings in the beginning of me being here, and then, race, the 500 started. So kind of picking that back up. In July, I'll be meeting with Delara, Lindy, IMS, the chair of the Purdue Motorsports program is coming to Main Street, and a representative of Speedway Trails, among other people. I completed an Urban Land Institute on-demand training called Foundations of Real Estate Development that's mostly focused on the foundations of commercial real estate development. And that was a really good course, and I think it was really helpful in helping me understand a lot of the terms that everybody is using in the commercial real estate world. So, and other than that, I just spend a lot of time looking through project files, still trying to get, my feet on the ground, and just answering a lot of questions from business owners and developers. Questions?
Awesome. Thanks, Carmen.
Thanks, Carmen.
All right, our town manager report.
I have nothing this evening. I've done a lot of talking.
All right, report from Councilor Sarah Gardner.
Yes, I just have a few items. One is the grand opening of the Speedway Arts Collective. I don't know if you know, but the corner of 16th and Lyndhurst is really happening. So we have a new hashtag, Shop the Corner. So the Arts Collective, I believe their address is 1610, but I could be wrong on that. They're the very end of the Miller Building, which is the red brick building across from St. Chris, now across from Vorage. But it's basically what was there in May on Main Street. Local artists, they have, they're going to be offering art classes in the basement as well, but just lots of local vendors with just handmade things and art, and I just think it's exciting. So their grand opening is actually next Thursday, the 18th. I believe their ribbon cutting is at 11, and their hours are going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 to 7. So kind of when you're on the weekends, maybe shopping, looking for local goods and things like that, I always think it's good to try to shop local when you can. I always push people to be errand for gifts and things like that, but this will give us another option for supporting our local artists. And then the second item is just, again, as a parent, school registration is open. So just getting those kids registered, even if they were a student last year, I know you have to re-register them. So just make sure to get that done. I'm sure that will help all the schools to not have to make additional phone calls. I know there is a school supply list this year that's new. So if you've not had a kid in school, at least as long as I've had kids in school, that's new to me. So just putting that on people's radar and I know there's some churches and things looking to maybe bridge that gap, because I know that may be an expense that wasn't maybe budgeted yet for some families, and it's hard. Times are challenging. So I know they said reach out to your school if that is a concern with supplies and things like that, and as well as some local churches. And then the last thing is just a happy birthday to my dad. It's his birthday today. A happy birthday to him. So that's all I got. Not that he's watching, but I can show him this clip later.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sean Harold.
I have nothing additional tonight. Sarah stole the thunder about the school registration. So.
Gotcha. You're not first.
Got the kids.
Counselor Noblet?
Yes, I just want to say that 4th of July is over and we all made it. Sometimes I wonder, where do they get these quarter dynamites, but it's definitely, starts early and lasts all night long from that standpoint. There for a while, I thought I was in Ukraine. But it's definitely challenging for when you have large fireworks going off, like with Run Next Door. From it, I can see that there's a big challenge of celebrating 4th of July in a reasonable man theory, from that goes on. But also want to ask for continued support for Barrage. I know they made a major investment into our community, and I think they got a heck of a product. And I think it's just a matter of time before people get out and keep passing the word. And their hours, you got to get used to their hours, from that end of it. You got to have to get up and not the evening hours all the time. It's more of a breakfast, lunch. But I think, adds a great compliment to the restaurant scene in the town of Speedway. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vice President Sturgeon.
I have nothing.
And I have nothing
You guys are
either.
lame.
So at 7:52, our 11th meeting of 2024 is adjourned.